Hello and welcome back to episode 15 of the One United podcast. I'm joined as ever by Henry. Henry, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. You?
Yeah, well, all things considered, I'm doing as well as I can do. And our special guest today is Waz. Now, Waz runs a Twitter account under the name of Man United Focus. You know, doing well on there, over 1,000 followers, aren't you? So, Waz, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. Could feel better after yesterday, but it's what it is. Got to move on.
Yeah, I know how you feel. Well, on that note, then we'll move on to the game yesterday. 3-1 loss at home to Crystal Palace. Who saw that coming, eh? I'll come to you, Henry, first. When you saw that lineup, it was announced, what were your initial thoughts?
Solskjaer wants to say fuck you to the board and wants to start Dan James and Fosu Mensah to prove that he hasn't got a good enough squad. It's either that or he's just genuinely really thick. To be honest, I obviously lean towards he hates what the board are doing. He's after his players, he ain't got them. So in terms of that, I'd say that's probably more like it, other than he's completely tactically inept, has no clue what he's doing. So yeah, worrying, to be honest. I was a bit shocked.
On that note then, I know you were very vocal on Twitter yesterday about Solskjaer and how you didn't agree with his just a couple of choices he made yesterday. Do you want to sort of expand on that for us?
Yeah, especially at right back and with Daniel James. Crystal Palace are going to play a low block. There's not much space in behind. And Dan James, he's best when there's space to run into. And I thought it was a pointless decision to play him. With Greenwood, he can normally pick up those pockets in the right-hand channel, manipulate the ball. Sometimes he gets a shot off. Sometimes he'll play like a reverse ball, play someone through. But with Dan James, especially on the right as well, he's very one-dimensional. At least on the left, he can chop both ways and normally puts the ball in with his left foot. But on the right, it's just too one-dimensional and it's easy to defend against.
Yeah, spot on. I think the thing with bringing Greenwood on at half-time is Palace already had the lead at that point, so they were happy to just sit back, defend the lead, and give Greenwood as little space as possible because you give him a yard and it's a guaranteed goal. But by starting him, Palace can't. They've got nothing to defend, so they've got to come out a little bit. That opens up space for Greenwood, and he has a better game. But I think starting Dan James right from the off is definitely the wrong call by him. Let's move into the performance a bit then. Obviously, wasn't our strongest squad at all. To go down 1-0 down after 7 minutes, it sort of just reminded me a bit of a couple of home games we had towards the end of last season. Southampton, West Ham at home, both falling behind relatively early on, I think. Henry, do you think this is becoming a problem for United? This sort of pattern of falling behind and then having to chase the game?
Massively. We see. I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it again. I don't know what it is about the first 20 minutes of games, 25 minutes. You can't string 5 passes together. It's humiliating. It's embarrassing. It's shocking. You look at this. This is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and we're playing shit football like that. We can't string 5 passes together. Bruno, yesterday, diving. I won't have it. It's disgusting. It's horrible. As a club, as a fan, so the club should be embarrassed, number one, by that. They should be embarrassed by that performance. You saw Woodward in the stands. Obviously, you can't see his face because of his mask. I kind of wish we could, because I bet he looked mortified. That is embarrassing. And if that's not an onus to go get some more players, I don't know what is. So, as far as I'm concerned, they've got one decision and one decision only. Go buy the bloody players the manager's asked for, or end up probably 7th or 8th, because that squad is not good enough for top 4. It's not.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. On that note then, Waz, I'll come to you. For the first goal especially, both Lindelof and Shaw were sort of partly to blame, I believe. Lindelof not doing enough to stop the cross, and then Shaw just completely loses his man at the back post. Now, given the speculation around a centre-back and a left-back, do you think this game has just really sort of heightened the need for either one or the other?
Yeah, I agree. I think centre-back and left-back are positions where I think Ollie's looking at, but obviously whether the board delivers, that's a different matter. With Lindelof, I feel he gets rolled too easily. Like when the ball was in that left-hand channel for the first goal, He's just allowing the crossing. He's not even sticking his leg out, putting his shoulder in. He just let the ball go across the box, thinking, "Oh, Maguire's there. Someone's going to clear it." Next thing you know, it goes past everyone, and then it gets tapped in the back post. I think Shaw. I just hate when he's like always like jogging around the pitch. He's like half-assed all the time. When you watch his movement off the ball, you watch Liverpool on the ball. I know I mentioned Liverpool, but they're like the benchmark. They won the league on the ball. It's intensity. You see see Manik catch out Christian early on today. It's because they're making sharp runs, and off the ball they're pressing. There's two sides of the game, whereas United they don't have either, and it's very disappointing, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a good point you raised. I saw a stat on social media today where last season in that 14-game unbeaten run, we were averaging about 14 runs in behind the defence per game. Against Crystal Palace, we made only 7. Now, that tells you one or two things. Either the front three, despite how fast they are, they just aren't willing to make the runs, or there's a real sloppiness from that midfield in there. They're just not even looking for an option. I think probably a combination of the two. The midfield looked very sloppy. I think you can sort of give them a pass in that United have played one friendly and that's it. Paul Pogba has just recovered from coronavirus, so he wasn't on international duty either. But I don't think that's the excuse for Bruno Fernandes. Now, we were talking a little bit before the show about how we're disappointed in him. I'll come to you, Henry, just to. I know you mentioned about his diving, but we were saying, for a couple of weeks now, going into the end of last season as well, he's not been as impressive as he was the first however long it was when he was scoring all the goals and getting a load of assists. Why do you think that is?
Well, this is a point that a lot of people don't understand about players like that. They're not going to be consistent for like a period of like 30 games. So you think about how many games he's played in the last 7 months. So obviously they had the issues with COVID and stuff, and they weren't able to train. So you had to build your fitness back up. Obviously the first few months he played for United, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Came back into the side towards the end of the season, mostly scoring penalties. That's one thing that fans don't understand. Stats at the end of the day can be deceiving. So he was scoring penalties. He wasn't necessarily on top of his game when he came back from the lockdown. But you can't expect a player to play at 100% when the players around him are inept, average, shambolic. You're looking at this side. So I watched Brighton today, a side that had just avoided relegation last year. They look like a better side than us. They look more composed on the ball. Yeah. More tactically aware.
Absolutely.
So their front line closing down everyone at every opportunity. They're throwing their bodies on the line to get blocks and from crosses, and they are literally putting their bodies on the line for the club. And then I look at bloody Luke Shaw and Victor Lindelof sauntering around at the back. How the fuck are we supposed to be happy with that? It's humiliating. So we bought someone for 30 million. Liverpool signed someone for almost 80. There's a difference. There's going to be a difference. If he was an £80 million player, we would have got him for 80 million. He's not. It's quite clear that he's a third or fourth choice centre-back. And yet he's still in that side. And he's still losing the ball. He's still losing his man. Luke Shaw, to be honest, I mean, he's put on a lot of weight, clearly. You see him running back. He's puffing out of his arse. After 5 seconds of running back, he's puffing. He can't catch up with his man. I don't understand. We've seen it. We saw it in the Europa League. Again, we looked inexperienced, unable to cope with pressure. And then we got absolutely battered by Palace yesterday. We deserved to lose that game. No one can say that we should have come out of that game and we should have won or drawn, because we deserved to lose that game. It was that bad. And Solskjaer on the touchline, he's almost clueless. He doesn't know what to do. What can you do? You've got one half-decent player on the bench, and we're bringing on Igalo in the 85th minute. What the hell is he going to do? He's a championship striker. He's not going to do anything. So it was always sign some players or end up outside the top four. There is no hope in hell we're going to get top 4 with that side. We are relying on someone who's just recovered from coronavirus. We know how bad that's been for the world and how bad it can be for players, and it can kind of almost destroy your immune system.
Yeah.
So he's just recovered from COVID, and he's starting the game. And people saying, "Oh yeah, he got hooked after 60 minutes, or whatever." What do you expect? What do you expect when you start someone that's just been through that? It's like you take 1 step forward and 2 steps back, but with us, it's 1 step forward and 5 steps back, because we, get to the semi-finals of the Europa League and we do okay, but then we get battered by a side that have finished like 4th in La Liga. I just don't get it. Honestly, I'm baffled. I'm just baffled.
I think a lot of people would agree with you on that. I think, Waz, I'll come to you in a sec, because we were talking, you had some really interesting points on Bruno, but just to bring up this comment from Jamie Morrissey, thanks for joining us, mate. He says, I'll just, in one word, we'll move past it quickly. In one word, how would you two describe yesterday's horror show, as you put it? Henry, I'll come to you first.
All right, fine. Mortifying.
It's a big word for this podcast. Waz, how about you?
Appalling or shambolic. Pick whatever, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. So coming back to the point then, Waz, we were talking before, and you made a really good point about even before the end of last season, Bruno was a player who, yes, he was getting goals and assists, but I think if he wasn't getting goals or assists, it was really showing just sort of how flawed his game is. Without goal contributions, he doesn't seem to be, especially recently. This is purely just recency bias, but he doesn't seem to be affecting the game as much as we'd like. Do you want to just expand on what we were saying?
Yeah, first of all, to make clear with everyone, I'm a big fan of Bruno Fernandes. I think he's a very good player, but you get fans that call him world class. He's not that level. He's good, very good on his day, and that's it. With his goal contributions, it's great because he's an effective player. He tries the risky pass. Obviously, your pass percentage is going to be low when you're trying the risky passes. Where I get annoyed with Bruno Fernandes is when he's shooting from like 40 yards, or like he's doing a little flick, or like Henry mentioned, he's diving on the opposition edge of the opposition's box. It's little things like that. You got to move the ball fast against low blocks like Palace. You got to move the ball fast. I don't think he trusts the players around him, and also I think Ollie just lets him go on the pitch and go. Oh, enjoy the game, Bruno. Like impact the game, Bruno. There's no coaching. There's no coaching to it. Whereas what do you call his name? Pep Guardiola with De Bruyne. He's always going to pick that channel up on the right hand side, and he's going to whip balls in. We've seen that goals countless times. With Bruno, you don't know what's coming. Even yesterday with the goal, we got lucky. It was it fell to Van de Beek's foot on the back post. We didn't create that goal. We don't score team goals, and it's just disappointing.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I'd go along with what you say there, and I've seen on Twitter a few times, and I sort of tried not to believe it because we were on such a good run, but it's sort of coming to light now that Ollie is sort of relying on individual performances rather than tactics at the minute. Like you said, he does seem like he seems to be telling Bruno to just go out there and enjoy himself, where you see, there's the famous clip of Pep absolutely grilling Sterling after they've just won a trophy. And it's that sort of relentless coaching that has got City to where they are. I think this another comment from Jamie really proves this. He says Potter is an excellent coach. Yes. Obviously on about Graham Potter at Brighton. Now, we could get another scoring Saturday, and I completely agree with you there. I think if the way Brighton have been playing, they're on an incredible run. To beat this Newcastle team 3-0 is not, especially away, is not an easy task. I think they gave Chelsea a good run for their money the week before as well. I think if we turn up next Saturday like we did yesterday, it could be a horror show. I mean, losing 3-1 to Palace is one thing, but I think just purely on paper and the reputation that the teams have, I think if we lose again to Brighton, that's going to be real warning signs. I'll come to you both just for quick predictions, but Henry, how do you think we'll do next week? Speaking right now.
Oh, where do I start? I think it'll be a mess. I think it'll be a complete mess. We got two options. We either keep this squad and go out there and get beaten. We might get beaten 2-1, but a defeat is still bad against a Brighton side. Let's be honest. If we keep that squad, we'll lose. If we sign players, maybe there's a little bit of hope. But then we look to tactical knowledge, and when it comes to tactical knowledge, Graham Potter seems to outshine Ole Gunnar Solskjaer tenfold. So, I don't have high hopes whatsoever.
Absolutely, I'd agree with you. Baz, I'll come to you. I know, again, we'll go back to what you were saying on Twitter. You're not Ole's biggest fan at the minute, and this comment seems to be agreeing with you. So, would you say Potter's a superior coach at the minute? And if so, how are you feeling for Saturday's game?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've seen Brighton play quite a few times, and the way they move the ball, like transition it from the back to the front, they do it well. Obviously, sometimes they go long, but they're going less long now because Glenn Murray's left. They got a Neil Maupay up front, and I think they got Adam Connolly. I think he scored today. Yeah, they knocked the ball around well. They got ball players in midfield, and they got Lamptey on the right. And I don't know too much about Graham Potter, but I remember at his previous clubs they played really good football. And I think there's more to him. I think he studied sports science and sports psychology and so on. So he's like a modern day manager. He's up there. So yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult test. The only way I see us winning is if the players just play for personal pride and they don't want to get embarrassed again. So they'll end up scraping a 2-1 or a 1-0. That's all I see. But I don't see great football and us winning comfortably. No chance.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Although, just purely because I don't want it to happen, I don't see United losing to Brighton. But it's like you say, I can't see them outplaying Brighton either. I think it'll be a pretty unconvincing win by sort of a 1 or 2 goal deficit. Sort of like last year, I understand we went 3-0 up away at Brighton, sort of on the hour mark, and then after that, Brighton hit the post. Was it once or twice? They had a lot of good saves from De Gea. Realistically, we were all riding on a high at that point because we were winning so many games. But
could I just added when we played Brighton away, people forget that they rested like Patrick Gross, but some of the best players were on the bench. The reason they were actually resting their players like Aaron Moy. They were playing on the weekend. I think they were playing Palace, and that was a bigger game for them. They thought, we got less opportunity of being United, especially with United being on form. So the rest of players play against Palace or something, and I'm sure they won on the weekend. So it was a good decision in the end. So United fans got overexcited, and in that second half they brought Trossard on, and they brought their best players on, and that's when we got on the back foot, and we took Pogba or something off, and we put on Mctominay, and that's when they start dominating. So United fans, they're a bit blurred. They thought we beat them comfortably. We didn't. We were playing their B team really.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think it could be a rude awakening, but in a way that could be a blessing in disguise, because I think no amount of social media talk is going to get these owners and this board to budge on their transfer stance. So I think the only real thing that will make them make any sort of movement is getting bad results on the pitch. If they think that Champions League money is not possible given how we're playing, that can inspire them to make some signings. So that's the only sort of positive I can see out of this. But I'll move on then. We sort of briefly touched on it earlier. Obviously, Van der Beek made his debut, which is a very good debut. Got a goal. He looks like a real player. But I was somewhat surprised to see Pogba substituted after an hour. Now, it's obvious that he wasn't fully fit from fighting coronavirus. I think that was obvious to see, losing the ball a lot. Not really making many darting runs forward like you usually see, but given how Scott McTominay played as well, Henry, I'll come to you first. We're trying to get back some goals, and you surely you'd bring Van der Beek on for McTominay. No need for a defensive-minded midfielder. Henry, how do you feel about the decision?
I'm just going to say first of all about stuff that you just mentioned. A win at the weekend for the club against Brighton is a win for the Glazers. That's all I'll say. So if we lose that game, maybe they'll wake up and sign someone. Secondly, getting on to Scott McTominay, the overhyped Scottish pile of shit that played at the weekend. Such an average player. Now, I'm not saying he can't be a good player, because he might turn up and be a fantastic player in like 3 years. But what is he, 24 now or something? It might not be that old. 22? I don't know.
Yeah, roughly.
When you're above the age of 21 and you're still not showing signs of improving that much, then maybe it's time to loan him out to West Ham or something, because he's not good enough for United. He's not. The standard isn't there. As far as I'm concerned, he's just a glorified marathon runner, because that's all he does is run. He just runs around the pitch. I see him make a few tackles. He gets booked every game. That's all he does. He's an overhyped Mark Noble. That's all he is. And Mark Noble even scores penalties, so probably not even at that level. He's been massively gassed up to be, one of the best players, one of the best prodigies United are going to produce. I heard people call him the next Michael Carrick. Give me a fucking break, seriously, come on. Either you are having some sort of seizure, or you're just really thick when you're saying that. So he shouldn't have started in the first place. Fred, I've been critical of. I would have started Fred over him, and I don't really like Fred. Again, busybody, workhorse. Plays okay. Got a bit better last year, to be fair. But unless Matic was severely injured, I would have played Matic with a broken leg over Scott McTominay, because he would have done more, and he would have played more, got more successful passes, and he would have played more forward balls. Because at the end of the day, you don't look for someone who just stands there. You could put a bin in that position, and he would have done a better job. At least it would have stopped the ball from going through a few times. So, as far as I'm concerned, he was a complete waste of space in that game. The fact that Solskjaer took Pogba off can only be because Pogba was tired and obviously, just recovered from COVID. Slightly understandable, but still, you surely bring both of them off at the same time if you're gonna do that. I have never seen a manager go from bringing an attacking, when you're losing a game, bringing an attacking player off for an attacker and leaving the defensive player on when the defensive player isn't doing his fucking job. So what is the point in keeping him on the pitch in the first place? Bring an attacker on, and for the love of God, do not start Dan James the next game. Oh my word. Woeful. He was bought from the Championship for a reason. Leeds were going to get him. Fair enough. Marcelo Bielsa might be able to coach him into something fantastic, but he would have done well in the Championship last year. I'm sure he would have. He's a quick player, and half the Championship players are 36 and got bruised legs and whatever, so they can't run. So, at least he would have done a little bit better last year in the Championship. But again, when you see that starting lineup, my instant thought is, where do I cry? Because it was just humiliating to look at. So, yeah.
Hit the nail on the head. Waz, I'll come to you. I'll ask you the same question. Well, I'll sort of go off what Henry was saying then. Do you agree with what he said about Scott McTominay? And then sort of following on from that, are Fred and Matic good enough to fill in the space that he's clearly vacating? And if not, who do we have to bring in?
Yeah. With Scott McTominay, first of all, I don't think he's a defensive midfielder. I think he's box to box. I remember in the reserves, I think he was playing up front at one point. Anyway, he is box to box. He's good at getting around the pitch, using his energy, putting a tackle in here and there, but he's not defensive midfielder. Matic is proactive, as Henry mentioned. McTominay is reactive. That's why he's late in challenges. That's why he gets booked, because he's not booked. That's why he's not reading the game well. That's why he's always getting booked, because he's late challenges. And with Fred, I think in that deep line position, when he gets the ball, I think he's a bit erratic, to be honest. He loses the ball in those positions, and if you lose the ball in those positions, then the opposition are straight on goal. Matic is okay, but given his age and his lack of dynamism, I feel we do need a centre defensive midfielder. I think even with Van der Beek, we signed Van der Beek, but Van der Beek he's mainly going to be on the bench. He occupies the Pogba position or Fernandes position. Were we better off signing Partey for 10 million more, like an out-and-out defensive midfielder, or an NDD, like who's actually going to do a job and impact the first team? And then Matic can come on. Matic is on the bench. If you improve the first team, for example, if you get a top centre back, then Lindelof goes on the bench. You don't need to replace the rubbish on the bench. Replace better players in the first team, and they can become squad players. The rubbish on the bench, they leave the club. That's how you filter out the system, the team selection, and so on. So yeah, for me, we do need a defensive midfielder, but I don't see it happening, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think Van der Beek's going to come in handy. You know, I think Solskjaer made the right call not starting him today, because it's not easy to settle into a team that quickly. Obviously, looking back at it, speaking in hindsight, he probably would have done better than Mctominay. But when he's properly, sort of adjusted to life in Manchester, I think against these low block teams, he'll be perfect alongside Pogba and Bruno, because Pogba and Van der Beek both have some sort of defensive ability. We've seen that. Pogba's a big, strong lad. He wins the balls well, and Van der Beek's work rate helps him defensively as well. But I completely agree with what you're saying. I think as incredible as a signing it is, to get a player of this quality for so cheap, it's a brilliant bit of business. But I think the priorities are all in the wrong place. Why get a player who is similar in style to Pogba and Fernandes when our only really competent central defensive midfielder is the wrong side of 30, and over the years has been known to be injury prone. He's been all right the last couple of years, but that can catch up with him very quickly. So yeah, I think like you said, Partey would have been for us a better signing because it improves the first team rather than improves the squad depth. But yeah, that sort of brings me on to what I wanted to say next. Just sort of the next section of the show. Given yesterday's result, sorry, do you think that the shift in transfer, the transfer priority should be shifted from Jadon Sancho? He'd be an incredible purchase, but do you think it should be shifted to a centre back or a left back or a defensive midfielder? Henry, I'll come to you first.
Oh, right. This might be a controversial thing to say, but personally, now sack the Sancho deal. If you're not going to pay the money for him, they're not going to accept it. Just sack it off. I want it to happen. Every United fan wants it to happen. I would love for the club to go and buy him outright. And we all want to see attacking football and us outscoring teams at the end of the day. I'd rather see that than defensive, boring football, to be honest. We've shown a lack of knowledge when it comes to the transfer market as a club. We spent like 80 million on a walking fridge. So he hasn't done much in the time he's been there. He seems, as I said before, he's got the turning circle of a canal boat. He can't really do much. He gets ripped inside out by any quick striker or winger. So, and then we've got someone who is, just as slow alongside him, and someone who seems to have just brain spasms when it comes to clearing the ball, and it's like he's like a broken toy. He just doesn't know what he's doing, or he's kind of just so erratic. And then you've got Mr. Salad on the sideline doing absolutely nothing. He runs up and down a couple of times, up and down the pitch, but then other than that, pretty much does sod all. So I think he got one assist last year. That as a fullback for a top club, to be honest, I would have rather put Fred left back last year. I think he'd done a better job. It's humiliating to watch this defending, and then you've got De Gea. I know he played well for Spain, and that's fine. But he gave I saw one pass. He tried to hit a man that was like 5 yards away from him, and he still missed. So I don't know what the hell's wrong with him either. Whether he's wiping that 300 grand on his arse every night, laughing at the club, because at the end of the day, that was humiliating. Watching that, and then you see the most expensive goalkeeper, and Chelsea are going to go out and sign another one. We've already got one in Henderson. Play him. Well, how many mistakes does De Gea have to make? Does De Gea have to run over a child or shoot up Old Trafford? Is that the only way that he's not going to play the games? Because at the end of the day, it's humiliating to watch. You've got someone who clearly, he's going like that every time he makes a mistake. Oh, it was everyone else's fault. No, it's your fucking fault, mate. Get off the pitch. Let someone else have a turn, because at the end of the day, he's clearly not capable. He's capable for Spain because he knows his place is under threat. At United, he's probably sat in the training ground going, well, I don't have to do anything here because I know they're going to play me anyway. So that back five needs work. Wan-Bissaka, he needs work on his crossing. I've always said that before. Everyone calls him the spider, and he kind of runs like a spider as well, tripping over and falling over and legs everywhere when it comes to crossing the ball and stuff. So someone's got to get a personal coach for him to sort out his crossing because it's embarrassing, and then someone's got to get a fitness coach for sure. Someone's got to get a athletics coach for Harry Maguire. He doesn't know what he's doing, and someone's got to sack Lindelof off because he's a crap defender. So sign 3 players at the back. That's what we need. 3. As far as I'm concerned, Maguire. I saw the pre-season game against Villa, and he was sleeping for the Watkins guy, kind of looking around at everyone else. Oh, was that me that's supposed to be marking him? Well, he's your man, so yeah, obviously it's you that's supposed to be marking him, not anyone else, you moron. So, yeah, what else am I supposed to say other than go and sign more defenders? Because at the end of the day, I want to defend. I want to see us not shipping 3-4 goals every game, because that's pointless. It's shit. It's boring to watch. We'll get like 5 points all season if we don't defend like that. Newcastle, teams like that will rip us apart. It's humiliating.
Completely agree with you, mate. I'll come to you next then, Waz. I'll ask you the same question. Follow it, watching the game yesterday. Do you think that the priority should shift? And, if so, who are you bringing in?
So, yeah, what I don't understand, right, we've had a lockdown for like 5 months. Are United not making calls to Dortmund about Jadon Sancho? Like, what are you doing? Like, you got all that time off. Do some inquiries, speak it out. Exactly. And then, what do you call it? If you can't get Jadon Sancho, surely have a plan B or a plan C. Move on. Look at Liverpool. They were after Jamal Lewis. Norwich said 20 million. Liverpool go, F that. We ain't paying that. And then they got that left back from Olympiacos. That's it, because they've got a structure. They've got a barrier in wages, and they've got a barrier in like budget. Obviously, sometimes with Van Dijk can go that bit extra, but generally they've got like a barrier there. Whereas us, we're a joke. We give Dean Henderson 120k a week. That's what I heard anyway. That's ridiculous. I think he's the 6th highest paid keeper in the world, and he's not played a single game for Man United. Absolutely, it's just pathetic. Sometimes you just feel like there's just no structure at the top. Well, we know there's no structure at the top, and it just feels like it's good vibes FC, what you see on Twitter all the time. Like, oh, everyone's happy to be here, give hugs, kick balls in bins in training. I don't want to see that. I'm not asked. I don't want to even see the players smiling. I want standards. Even though I don't rate Roy Keane as a pundit, absolutely fantastic player. Standards. He was the manager on the pitch. I just hate it from all the preseason as well, with Harry Maguire, and then players going off to Dubai, whatever, catching COVID. It's just been a mess throughout. Sir Alex Ferguson wouldn't allow that. And then, especially with Sancho, the deal is going to drag to end of the transfer window. Probably won't end up getting him. And if we do get him, we're going to pay the price they're asking for anyway. So just pointless. For me, if you can't get your first target, move on to your second target. There's Ismail Sarr at Watford. Okay, he's not fantastic. He's not Jadon Sancho, but he'll improve that right wing because we don't have a natural right winger. And then you can use the rest of the budget on the defensive midfielder. Then you improve in 2 positions in one, and just slowly, gradually improve like that. So yeah, it's just frustrating, man. It's like, well, we do know they just don't understand football at the top. It's like we just focus on one target, and then if we can't get that target, or game over, or transfer window's finished now. It's pathetic.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I think, in my opinion, like you say, Dortmund not going to shift on that valuation. If we're not willing to pay it now, why would we then pay it at the end of the window? You just wasted 3 months of allowing him to settle in. So providing we don't go for him, I think it's pretty obvious what you do. You can sign Tellers for 20 million euros. He got 2 goals and an assist yesterday, I believe. He got 25 goal involvements last year from left back. He's quietly going about his business as one of the best left backs in the world. I don't think that's too much of a dramatic statement to make. So get him in. That's what, £15 million. That's similar to what Liverpool paid for their left back that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
You then look at your centre backs. I get Upamecano's got a £45 million buyout clause next year, but this year you offer Leipzig 60 million. I think they'll bite your hand off. Yeah, 60 million now or 45 million next year. They'd bite your hand off. So that's 75 million combined. You then look at a CDM. What's Partey's got? £50 million release clause.
Yeah,
I think 45 million, 50 million. He's an instant upgrade on Matic, let alone the other two. He's still only 26, 27. He's got at least 4 good years in him before he starts declining. So what's that? 60 million, 45 million, and 15 million. You're looking at 120 million for 3 players that completely revolutionise this squad. Yeah. For what, £12 million more than it'd take to buy one player who, without doubt, he's one of the best wingers in the world, but he shouldn't be the priority. If you had asked me a month ago, I'd have said we need Jadon Sancho. But looking on a wider scale, if Jadon Sancho comes if Jadon Sancho comes in and that's all our money gone, we can't make any more signings. I think that's horrendous business by Manchester United, and that's why I probably expect it to happen. Because why would we do anything that even slightly makes sense? But
James, moving on. Just quickly, with the point you made there, we can just look at Chelsea. Chelsea invested in attacking players and forward players, and look at today. It's the defense that cost them today, with Kepa and Christensen not following his man. That's just a perfect example to match your point.
Absolutely, yeah. Just priorities in the wrong place. Now, moving on from incomings, if there are any, we'll move on to outgoings. Now, it's looking more and more likely that Chris Smalling will leave, which he'd probably done a better job than Lindelof yesterday. So I'm suddenly not as excited by that as I should be. But there's a lot of talk at the minute that Leeds want to sign Dan James. Now, I know no one at United is Dan James' biggest fan, but they're on about offering £12 million. Now, that's a loss that we'd take on him. We paid 18 million for him, 20 million. I'll come to you first, Henry. Do you think this makes sense for United to let him go for 12 million? Or, we know he's not good enough. Should we keep him on as a squad player or loan him out? What would you say?
Loan him out. Loan him out. I can't stress this enough. I do not want to see him near that first team this year. And that's not me being a dick. That's the fact that he is not good enough. Okay, I don't want to see myself near that first team this year because I know I'm not good enough. So the management staff should be looking at that, thinking, okay, someone's clearly interested in him. Fair enough. Can we send him out on a loan for a year? He can gain some experience in the Premier League. I know small clubs like Villa and West Brom and all that rubbish that would be interested in getting him on loan and sticking him. Maybe come on as a sub and then do well or whatever. Fine, send him out on loan, and then if he's not good enough, you'll know if he's not good enough by the end of the year. In terms of other players, we can't offload players because they're on such high wages. That's the problem we've got. Smalling's an exception because he clearly wants to go and play football. Fair enough. We've got Phil Jones, who, after he made a cute video with Chris Smalling, got offered 100 grand a week. So he's going to sit on that and enjoy himself for the rest of his career. I'm sure we offered him like a 7-year deal, as we do with everyone else, for some weird reason. So we've offered him a ridiculous contract. He's on that. Luke Shaw, we can't offload him. He's on, 120k a week as well. So how are we going to offload him? I know, people saying back up, left back, whatever. Sod that. If he's on, you think he's playing now, okay? And you look at the size of him now. If he's on the touchline, he's going to be eating twice as many burgers. He's not going to be playing. So obviously he's going to gain like 10 stone when he's sat on the sidelines. So these players have to go, but it's a case of finding a place for them to go and finding a club who are willing to either match those wages, which, by the way, I have no idea why the management of kind of put these deals in place, because it made no sense at the time. It made no sense. You've got Andres Pereira as well, signed a new contract a couple of years ago. What's that all about? The guy played like 12 times for Granada, and we're getting signed a new contract, and we're going, oh yeah, but he's a potential. He's a good player for the future. You know, he's got potential. What does that mean? All these players have got potential. Well, when are they going to live up to that potential? Because at the moment they're not doing it. Pereira, as I said before, his only highlight is that goal against Southampton, and that was a fluke. He just whacked it as hard as he could. At the end of the day, if we saw Dean Henderson score a 40-yard worldie, we're not going to sign him on a 15-year contract. Oh, yeah, well done. You know, you scored a goal from your halfway line when it was 95th minute or whatever. You know, don't sign him on a 10-year contract. So Pereira made zero sense to sign him as well. And all these players, you know, I can understand Williams signing a new contract because he's one who actually does have a little bit of a future at United. I think defensively he needs work. So, by the way, whatever those defensive coaches are doing at the moment, get rid of them. Because seriously, that performance yesterday was a complete mess. I haven't been drunk in a long time. I wanted to get fucking slaughtered after that. I wanted to neck a bottle of vodka after that. That was embarrassing. It was humiliating. I've seen Sunday league teams defend better than that. I've seen guys munching burgers at halftime that go on and defend better than that. It's embarrassing. What are we doing as fans? All we can do is complain. We're turning into AFTV.
Yeah.
Seriously. We're turning into, oh, yeah, but it wasn't a good performance. And, oh, yeah, Solskjaer out and Wenger out. And you fucking break. Seriously. I don't know. I'm lost as a fan. I'm lost. I'll obviously always support my club, but I'm lost. I don't know where to go. And, yeah, maybe a 15-0 defeat. But what we should do is just forfeit the game against Brighton. You know, what harm can that do? You know, we get a 10 grand fine. You know, which moron, you know, has been shit last game can pay that from his wages. And take the fine and just, you know, move on. Get some more players if you can. If not, just sack this season off. We'll sack the manager in January because apparently he's not good enough because we haven't given the players that he wants. aka Mourinho all over again. Didn't get the players he wanted and threw a hissy fit. So fair play to him for doing that. And yeah, these pesky owners need to put their hand in their pockets, pull out some money. They've got a £4 billion net worth. I'm sure they shit with £20 notes. Thanks, John, by the way. And yes, as a United fan, after watching yesterday, I'm a little bit angry. So fair play to you for saying that.
Yeah. Sorry, go on. What were you going to say?
I said that's me done.
Oh, right. Yeah. I completely agree with you. I think before I come to you I think an interesting point as well. You know, we mentioned it with Henry when he was on last episode. Sorry, he did an interview with, I think his name's Franz Hoek. He was the defensive coach under Louis van Gaal, I believe. I believe he was a defensive coach and goalkeeping. Either way, you know, Louis van Gaal brought in his own team, and whoever the defensive coach was, he managed to make Chris Smalling one of the best defenders in the league for a year. So I think, what on earth are we doing behind the scenes defensive coaching wise that make Harry Maguire, who was a starter for England, everyone in England loved him at the World Cup. He was at the World Cup, he was one of the best defenders there. He comes to United and he's suddenly bang average, completely bang average. We've been scammed out of 80 million. And, you know, surely he can't have been that bad his whole career. I think something must have happened at United. But I'll come to you, Waz, from the initial question that I asked Henry before the long rant. I think Dan James, in your opinion, keep him as a squad player, loan him out, or sell him to Leeds?
I agree with Henry. I think, I think loan's the best option because it'll just give us an answer whether he's good enough for Premier League or not. Because I fear that if you just sell him to Leeds and Bielsa gets his hands on him with that raw talent, he'll end up causing havoc, and then we'll look back and think, oh, we should have probably kept him for a
We'll
little bit
buy him for
longer.
90 million in 2 years.
Yeah, probably. And then with Chris Smalling, again, it just doesn't make sense. He wants to leave. They're asking for like 17 million. You've had so much time to do the deal. It's not done. Like, I don't get it. I actually don't get it. And then, yeah, that's it really. I think we've done well in the loans with Dylan Levitt going Charlton and Ghana. Ghana left as well. Forgot the club.
Watford.
Yeah. I think with them two, good loan moves. I think Dylan Levitt's better than most of our centre mids, to be honest. Keeps the ball way better than most of them. I'm a big fan of his. Yeah, that's it really. But as with all the United fans, transfers, they're just really slow in and out. Henry's covered most of the points with all the wage structure. Mata got a new deal like 2-3 years ago. Fans were saying, but not even 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, Mata got like a 3-year contract. And then you hear fans on Twitter and so on saying, oh, I don't mind Mata. He's good around the squad. If he plays number 10, I'll keep him. But he's not played number 10 once. What's going to change overnight? He's been playing right wing. We've ruined Mata. Mata was Chelsea's 3 times player of the season. Got like 35 assists one season, that insane season he had. And yeah, I just think there's not enough standards at United. And Matic has been poor for like 6 months prior this little run he goes on, and then he gets a contract. Scott Mctominay gets a 6-year contract. It's just pathetic. I think we give contracts out so we don't have to sign players. I think that's it.
Yeah, spot on. I think I'll build on your point. I just first wanted to bring this comment up from Jamie. He says our coaching staff is shocking. It's like they're all on work experience. I think the one thing that's wrong with this comment is that I think all of our staff are shocking, and it looks like they're all on work experience. I think Ed Woodward was probably sat at home one day getting pissed with his wife, and he saw an advert in the newspaper that said United are looking for a chief executive. He goes, "Oh, I'll sign up." They clearly liked him they clearly thought he was a sound bloke in the interview and hired him. That's what it seems like to me. But yeah, just sort of going back to what you were saying, I think a loan's perfect for Dan James, although I think he'll be a great squad player when we inevitably get knocked out in the group stage of the Champions League and we're playing a Bulgarian team in the round of 32 of the Europa League. I think he'll really come in handy there. But yeah, look, you see what a loan's already done to Taith Chong. He's gone to Werder Bremen. He scored 4 goals in 3 games for them already. He started again at the weekend for them, even though they lost. But he's already looking like that player we wanted him to be, just in a couple of weeks. Now, the loan for Dylan Levitt's going to be brilliant for him. There's only so far you can progress in the under-23s. That Championship football, League One, isn't it, Charlton? Now they got relegated. But yeah, James Garner as well. That level of football can only really bolster them. So I think that's the perfect thing for him. I don't know who you'd loan him out to. I think he's slightly above Championship level, but I don't think he's mid-table Premier League level either. So that'd be a difficult one. But we'll bring up this comment from John. He says, "Who comes in depth-wise for James if you're not buying another winger? I know he's terrible, but I don't know if there's a youth player better." And he's at the nail on the head as well. I think with our board's lack of ambition for spending, we're tight enough as it is on the wings. As much as in an ideal world, I'd want him to go out on loan. Who else is there behind, Greenwood, Martial, and Rashford? You're looking at playing Mata, Lingard, and Pereira as your backup wingers. We've seen how all of them have done out on the wing, and it's horrendous. The loan will have done Chong good. It will do Chong good, but he could have been back up if we let James leave. But yeah, it goes back to that horrible way we've been running the club. But one last thing before we end then, news coming out over the last couple of days that Jose Mourinho is looking to bring Jesse Lingard to Spurs. Now, personally, I think if Jose Mourinho takes Jesse Lingard off our hands, there should be a statue erected in front of Old Trafford of him. I think that'll be his greatest contribution to our club. I know he won us 3 trophies, but to get this guy off our hands would be just incredible. Now, I'll come to you, Henry. Yeah. I'll ask you a question in 2 parts. Now, firstly, how excited are you at the prospect of getting Jesse Lingard out of the club? And secondly, there's talks of doing a sort of swap deal for Dele Alli. It's a possibility because Spurs want to get rid of him. Now, is that a deal that you would take, or does he just look like he's going to become another Jesse Lingard?
See, I would take that deal, but for the first part of the question, and I'll answer it in short because I've obviously given some long answers today. If Mourinho wants Jesse Lingard, he wants him for a reason. Now, he performed fantastically under Mourinho when he was there. He was incredible for one of the like 2.5 seasons. He was amazing, brilliant, and kind of unplayable at times. So if he wants him there for a reason. And I fear that if we sell him to Spurs are a direct rival, and he'll turn him into prime Messi again, which he seemed to somehow do. So, and Mourinho does not get rid of players unless they have some sort of problem with them. And we've seen on the Spurs documentary, Dele Alli has a big attitude problem. He's a lazy shit, to put it nicely. Yeah. He's a lazy shit. He clearly doesn't, do the work in training. He's a bit jokey and laughy. But at the end of the day, you're working. You're working for money. So obviously Mourinho doesn't see the best player that better player that we thought he could be, one of England's best. So, yeah, in short, I wouldn't be surprised if he got him, but I don't think it's a good idea to offload him to Spurs, particularly.
Was just to end things out, I'll ask you exactly the same question. Are you excited at the prospect of Jesse Lingard leaving? And if so, would you bring in Dele Alli to replace him?
Yeah, so generally with players going out and in, I prefer players coming in instead of going out. But I think Mourinho's getting Jesse Lingard, as rumoured. I think it's for his versatility. He can play like an inside left number 10 position. He can occupy the wide position. I think he'll be there as a squad player. With Dele Alli, I think there was like a misconception a few years ago. When he arrived, you got to remember the team he was in. He was in a 4-2-3-1. Spurs used to play a high line. And then they had Dembele and Wanyama. And then, what's his name? Dele Alli was pretty much a shadow striker. And he was in around the box. He'd make good runs. He'd finish well. But once he dropped deeper, as you saw for England when he was playing in a 4-3-3, he'd drop deeper. He was in that midfield. And he's dropped deeper under Pochettino last season. He hasn't got that creativity in his game. You are going to score goals when you're right next to Harry Kane and Eriksen's crossing them in, and your team's so high up, you're so pressed in their half that you're in and around the box anyway. Even a sideways pass 5 yards to Harry Kane, he's going to bang it in because you're outside their box. So I think people overrated Dele Alli at the beginning. They just got lost in the numbers as they typically do. I think whether I want him at United, how many number 10s do we need? Van der Beek's rarely a number 10. Pogba's rarely a number 10. That's where he wants to play deep down. Fernandes, number 10. We're looking in the wrong areas. Rather just get Harry Winks if we can get anyone.
Yeah, yeah, anyone but Harry Winks. But
sideways backwards. That's what Harry Winks does.
It's like a B-Tech Jordan Henderson, isn't he? I think I agree with you though, Waz. I think sell Lingard, yes, because if Mourinho can get a good player out of him, then that'd be nice to see. I like Lingard as a person. I find him moderately entertaining, not as irritating as he probably actually is in real life. But I like him. I don't think he's good enough for this club. But if Mourinho can make a player out of him again, then fair play to him. But yeah, there's no way I'd have Dele Alli in this team. He's no doubt about it. He can on his day be a good player, a very good player that could improve us. But it's like we said earlier, it's prioritising the wrong position. That'd mean we've brought in 2 attacking midfielders in the window when defending's our only real defensive reinforcement should be our priority. So if it's all paper talk at the minute. There's no way it's actually going to happen. But if we brought in a Dele Alli, Woodward's got to go. That is just complete incompetence. 100%. There's no other way of wording it. He's gone, Dele Alli has a few good games. He's a big English name. Let's bring him in. He'll probably improve the team somehow. It just absolutely reeks of no one at this club really knowing what to do. And yeah, that's all I want to say. Is anyone else got any further comments before we end?
Yeah, I agree. I think some players just look better in the system. We touched on Harry Maguire earlier, whereas at Leicester, generally they do. Obviously, with Rodgers, they're keeping the ball better, playing possession football. But generally, when Maguire was there, they used to sit back, counter, try and hit Vardy in the channels. And when you've got a left back tucked in, and you've got Johnny Evans right next to you, and you've got Ndidi covering you, you're protected. And I think with England, he played in a back three as well, so you're protected again. If United want to progress and they want to play with a high line, with all that space, as we saw yesterday, behind Maguire and Lindelof, that's it, exploited. Whereas Liverpool, they have Van Dijk and Gomez, because of their recovery pace, they can get back. Even if we do keep Maguire, we need someone that can cover around, for example, like Upamecano, even like a Eric Bailly. You know what I mean? Someone with pace that could cover around. But yeah, at the back, we're too slow. But yeah, some players are like specific to a system, in my opinion.
Absolutely agree. Henry, anything you want to add before we end?
This club reeks of xenophobia. That's all I'm going to add.
Yeah. Spot on. It's not just the media, is it? It's a bit of our Brexit FC rebuild as well. But yeah, on that note, we'll call it a day. Thanks a lot to you, Waz, for coming on. Thanks for your support as well. It doesn't go unnoticed. Been a brilliant guest today. And we'll leave his links in the description. Go and check out his Twitter. He's got a lot of good opinions and I agree with a lot of them. So yeah, one of the better ones to follow. Henry, as ever, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
And yeah, on that note, we'll try and have an episode out at some point midweek for you, and we'll see you then.